Hello everyone, today I'm sharing with you all of the books I read in September. So September was a really good month, surprisingly, because I've told you guys my reading, speed of reading has just changed. Beginning of quarantine, I was reading a ton. Now since virtual learning and things like that have begun, it's went down a lot, but I read 10 books this month, so I am very, very pleased with that. Majority of them were ebooks, yet again, because a lot of e-arcs, things like that. I will link any sort of reading vlogs. I've done a few of those this month, as well as a couple of recent reads where I dissected even more further into certain books down below for you to check out. And as always with these videos, I'm going to start with my least favorite book I read this month, working up to my favorite. Let's get into it. So the first book that I want to talk about that was my least favorite, it's not a surprise, is One by One by Ruth Ware. I did not enjoy this. I've said repeatedly that I just have such a love-hate relationship with Ruth Ware books. I have yet to find one that I just absolutely adore. This is my 5th book I've read by her, I think. The only one I haven't read yet is Turn of the Key. And I'm going to read it because a lot of you guys have said it's really good and that should be my last ditch ever with her, so I'm going to trust you guys. So this one was basically all about this cabin in the Swiss Alps where this tech company goes for a retreat, murder happens, and it was boring. I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5. It just, nothing happened. The ending was so anticlimactic. I guessed what every term was gonna happen. It just was boring, honestly. And I love Ruth Ware's writing, which I think is why I keep returning to her books, but I'm always disappointed by the mystery and plot of them and her characters. Every single book she's written, I've hated all the characters. I don't know if that's just a thing or it's just me. I didn't enjoy it. Moving on. Next up is Recommended For You by Laura Silverman. This is a YA contemporary. I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5. I liked it. I didn't love it. I said in my reading vlog when I read it that I thought it was a little too juvenile for me. So please take my review with a grain of salt, with all my reviews, honestly, especially this one, because it's a YA book. I don't fit in the YA rate. I don't fit within the YA age range. I'm 32, so I'm a little bit older to read YA contemporaries, but I still enjoy them. There's some YA contemporaries where I really connect with the characters, and there's some that I just don't love. And this basically follows a character named Shoshana that takes place during the holidays, and she works in this bookstore, and it's the holidays, and she's Jewish. So that's really not an emphasis. That's really not an emphasis, I would say. The holidays, it's not a super big holiday book, and basically she's just trying to navigate her family relationship. She has 2 moms, and they're struggling in their marriage. She has a new guy at work that she has a hate relationship with. She has friends, and she was kind of just a little too juvenile for me. I fully believe that she acted her age. I just couldn't connect to that. So I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5. It was solid. I just didn't love it as much as I wanted to. So again, take my review with a grain of salt. Next up, also at a 3 out of 5, sadly, is Majesty by Katharine McGee. This is a sequel to American Royals, which I read earlier this year and loved. It's Gossip Girl meets royalty if George Washington decided to be the king of America rather than the president. In the first book, we follow Patrice, who is going to be next in line for the throne. We follow Patrice's sister, who's kind of a wild card, and we follow Patrice's sister's best friend, and we follow this girl named Daphne, who wants to be in royalty, and it's kind of conniving, so many love triangles and hexagons, and it's just an addicting book. I definitely preferred American Royals over Majesty. I just wanted a little bit more from it. There was only a couple of plot lines in this book that I really enjoyed. The rest, I think, just was not that great. I felt like Nina was very underused in this book. Daphne, I hated her, still hate her, so I guess that's a strong suit. Jefferson's never talked about in this book, so I wanted more from it. But would I be lying if I said I would read if she wrote more of these books? No, I would read them because they're addicting as mess. So it was a solid book. I just enjoyed the first one much more, honestly. But I will say my favorite plot line in Majesty, without spoiling anything because I don't want to spoil it, is Patrice's. I was very surprised. I loved her plot line. Also at a 3, I feel so conflicted whether to bring half stars back or not because I enjoy using that is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman, his latest release. You guys know I love Frederick Bachman. He's one of my favorite authors. I did a whole video on his books. This one is about a bank robber that tries to rob a bank, then accidentally takes some people hostage at this apartment viewing, and things go a little bit awry. We follow so many people, and I enjoyed the writing. He never disappoints me with his writing. It's always like funny with weaved in with a lot of seriousness. This has a lot of great talk about parenthood, about family, about life expectations. It also has a lot of talk about suicide as well. So if that's a trigger warning, I totally understand. Just thought I'd let you know. But I just didn't love it as much as I wanted to. It took me about 100 pages to really get a grasp on each character, which is why it wasn't a 4 or 5, honestly, for me. But by the end, I adored the ending so much. He just knows how to weave all of these many characters into one great story, but it just took a long time for it to get there, more so than his other books. But I still enjoyed it, still would recommend it. If you guys don't know, my favorite book by him is Beartown. I love that one. He just writes great. I just didn't love it as much as I wanted to, but I still did like it. Up is an adult romance novel, and that is Well Played by Jen DeLuca. This is the sequel / companion novel to Well Met, which I read last year, and I liked Well Met more. Thinking back on this now, I would probably give Well Played a 3. I think I rated it in a reading vlog 4. Looking back, it's a 3 for sure. This is about a character named Stacy who was in the first book. She's kind of like the bar wench in this whole Renaissance fair that happens every year in this town, and it's about her story, about how she had to move back home to help out her mom who was struggling with health, and she's just been kind of stuck there. And she decides to maybe try to reconnect with this guy she's hooked up with in the traveling band that comes to the Renaissance fair, and they start talking online, and basically he's not who he says he is, and that's all I'm going to tell you about it. It was just okay. I definitely much preferred the first one more. I don't know what trope to classify this as. Maybe friends to lovers, but also kind of catfishy, which I did not like. I don't know. I liked it. I really loved Well Met. Well Played was just okay, but I am excited for the last one, which I don't know who it's going to be about, but I will read it. Next up is Simmer Down by Sarah Smith. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. Just goes to show how much my rating changed. When I read this again in a reading vlog, I gave it a 3, but then looking back on it, I would give it a 4. So this is about a character, I forget her name, please forgive me, but she lives in Maui and she works at a food truck with her mom. They serve Filipino food, and she was a big time chef in Washington, but her father passed away. So she had to move to Maui where her parents were, because her parents' dream was always to retire to Maui, to go there to open up a Filipino food truck, to give to everybody. And so she helps out her mom, and basically one day she goes in her usual food truck parking place, and a British food truck's there, and we have this really aggressive guy, and they start having this hate relationship that turns into more, and it's got an amazing romance, amazing family relationships, and I really enjoyed it. It's a perfect summertime read, she says, as we're in the middle of fall, but maybe save this for summertime next year. Next up is a YA contemporary that I adore, and that is A Cuban's Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey, and this one is all about a character named Lila, and she's had a lot happen to her. She lives in Miami, she loves Miami, but basically her abuela dies, her best friend kind of just leaves, and her boyfriend of 3 years breaks up with her, so it's kind of like a trifecta of horrible things, and she's not recovering from very well. So her parents decide to send her to Winchester, England, to where her aunt has this bed and breakfast, this hotel type of thing, and she goes there reluctantly, and she really hates England at first. Then she meets a guy named Orion, and they start a friendship, and she meets his friends, and it's all about her baking and bringing some Cuban cuisine to England, and also meeting new friends, and it has a very slow burn relationship in it, and I adored this one a ton. I think this could be great for summer or fall, honestly. It's just got great friendship. It has a really organic, I think, growing relationship, and it was just adorable. It talks a lot about family, about cuisine, Cuban cuisine, and how it's really directly related to her with family and her love of Miami as well, so I adored this one a ton. Next up is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. I also give this one a 4 out of 5. This one is for all my fan fiction lovers out there, because we follow a character named April who is a geologist, but she also loves this show called, oh goodness, I forget the name of it, Gods of something, and she writes fan fiction for it. It's kind of like a fantasy with mythology in it as well, and she writes fan fiction for it, some steamy fan fiction, and basically through a turn of events she ends up going on a date with the star of that show, and she writes fan fiction about him, but little does she know that he also writes fan fiction as well, and they have actually been friends on the fan fiction servers for years, and so it's lots of secrets, but also romance. April was plus size, and it was very body positive, which I adored so much, because plus size people can find love too. I know. I've been in love for a while and I'm plus size. So it was just steamy, romantic, fandom heavy. I really, really enjoyed it. And I know she's going to continue on with this series. So I'm very excited to read it. And my two favorite books this month, one's a 4, one's a 5. The first one is Horrid by Katrina Leno. I love this book. This was so weird, so bizarre, perfect for this month, honestly. We follow a character named Jane who has to move back home with her mom in her mom's hometown in Maine. And they're from LA because her father passes away and they have to move to this old dilapidated house that her mom grew up in, and spooky things start happening, and it's very just weird and ominous, and it's a very peculiar book. Like, it is weird, but I love the writing. I love just how weird it was because it was just perfect for fall. Like, goodness me, if you want a Halloween spooky book that legitimately scared me, I would check this one out. I gave it a 4 out of 5, honestly. I don't know. I might go up to a 5. No, I think it's a 4. I didn't love and obsess with as much as I wanted to, but goodness me, I adored it. Perfect for Halloween time. And my favorite book of the month is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is her latest release. It's an adult fantasy book, and it's basically about this character named Addie who was born in the 1700s, and she really wants more from life. She doesn't want to be in this small town, and I believe it's France, and she just wants to do more. And so she makes like a deal with the demon at night and that she'll be immortal, but there are catches that she doesn't know about till after she made the deal. So she's immortal, yes, but everyone that meets her will forget her. So it could be like you have a conversation with her coming up, say, hey Addie, hey, who are you? I'm Addie. Oh, that's nice, da da da. You turn away, you turn back again, you will instantly forget her like that. So she's been living for 300 years without anybody remembering her until one day somebody does. And so it's all about that. We skip through different time periods, and I will say I was not loving this book at first. Like, I was having a real struggle with it, the first 100 pages especially, but after that I really got invested in it. And what I love about this book is how my feelings change so drastically. At the beginning of this book, we start in the 1700s when she is making her deal with the devil pretty much and seeing her life as she begins to be immortal. And I was really bored by that, and I really wanted the now time because we have different time cycles. And then by the middle of it, I was kind of I liked the now period time, but I wanted to go back to see more about her relationship with like the demon, the devil type of thing. So it was just really interesting. It had fantastical elements in it. It had a lot of romance. It had a lot of time, different periods going on. And I loved it a ton. It's definitely very different from anything she's written, but I enjoyed every aspect of it. I don't know if this is a standalone or not, but the way she left it, there could be a sequel. You never know with her, because I think we all thought Vicious was going to be a standalone forever, and then it wasn't. So I think that could be the case for this one. So I loved it. Not surprised. I love V.E. Schwab's writing. It's just very haunting and lyrical and beautiful. And again, it's a perfect book to read in the fall, I'd say. So yeah, 5 out of 5. So those are all the 10 books I read this month. Overall, a very good reading month for me. Hopefully it will continue because I have so many books I'm planning to read for October. I'm sure you can guess the genres for all of them because we all know how seasonal I am. It's ridiculous. I would love to hear if you read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them. Please leave them down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.